Hello students, today we are going to continue our talk about virtual reality. Our theme for today is 2D games. Let's start with vocabulary, computer accessories and gadgets. Open your books at page 40, exercise 1. Listen and repeat the words.
Speakers, headphones, tablet, games console, smartphone, keyboard, monitor, mouse.
Now you are to match the words to the pictures. What do we use the items for? Listen to the model.
We use a mouse to move the cursor around the screen.
We use speakers and headphones to listen to sound through the computer. We use speakers and headphones to listen to sound through the computer.
We use a tablet as a portable computer.
We use a games console to play games.
We use a smartphone to make calls, send texts, take photos, and more.
We use a keyboard to enter information into a computer.
We use a monitor to view information from a computer on the screen.
In exercise 2, you are to read the definition. 2D, having two dimensions, having width and length but no depth. What differences are there between 2D games and 3D games? Listen to the opinion.
3D games are more realistic than 2D games and have immersive gameplay. Both types of games have storylines, but 2D games are simpler and have pixelated characters.
Now let's get acquainted with new words. Listen to them, repeat and write down them in your vocabularies.
Arcade machine.
Arcade.
Capture the imagination.
Code.
Collector's item.
Combine.
Comfort.
Complex.
Computer memory.
Download.
Downloadable content.
Freedom. Graphics. Increasingly.
Interact.
Kidnap.
Make a comeback.
Millennium.
Must-have gadget. Must. Open world adventures.
Pixel.
Pixelated.
Realistic.
Serious.
Simplistic.
Suitable.
Tutorial.
Exercise 3. You are to read the text and choose from the sentences the one which fits each gap. There is one extra sentence. Let's check. For the first gap is D. Learning to code is like learning to speak a new language, computer language. Number 2. F. People went to amusement arcades to play on game machines. The third is B. These were also the first games to have storylines. Number 4. E. 2D now seemed very old-fashioned. And the last is A. That meant that they were more suitable for handheld devices. Now let's watch the video.
The world of 2D gaming. You may think that games with 2D computer graphics are a thing of the past, but these cartoon-like games are making a surprise comeback. In the 1970s and 1980s, there were no consoles to play your favorite 2D games on in the comfort of your own home. People went to amusement arcades to play on game machines. There, they defended the Earth from alien spaceships or bounced around in platform games. In these games, the characters run left or right across the screen, leaping from one platform to the next. The arcade video games may seem simplistic compared to today's complex open-world adventures, but these games captured the imagination of a whole generation of gamers. In the 1980s and 90s, programmers began developing games with 3D computer graphics. These were more realistic and allowed the players more freedom to explore the virtual world. New games consoles used all the power of newer technology to create open-world games with immersive gameplay. It seemed that the days of 2D gaming were over. However, As smartphones became the must-have gadget for the new millennium, designers were looking for games that could be played on them. 2D games were cheaper to produce and didn't require as much computer memory. That meant that they were more suitable for handheld devices. With the rise in popularity of old games, console makers have released modern versions of old 2D consoles that are sold as collector's items, and new games are still being produced. So, while excellent graphics and complex gameplay are a must for any serious gamer, it seems there's still a place in their hearts for simpler games of the past.
In exercise 4, you are to answer the questions. What are the advantages and disadvantages of 2D games?
The advantages of 2D games are that they are cheap to produce, don't require much computer memory, and are suitable for handheld devices. The disadvantages are that they are simplistic with pixelated characters and only involve one screen.
Why are 2D games popular again?
2D games are popular again because they can be played on smartphones as a mobile game. Modern versions of 2D consoles are now collector's items, and new games are still being produced.
Which games, 2D or 3D, would you prefer to play, and why?
I would prefer to play 3D games, because I think a bigger virtual world with realistic characters is better than a game played on one screen with flat pixelated characters.
Exercise 5. You're to fill in. Let's check. Game machines, handheld device, computer memory, downloadable content, collector's item, must-have gadget, open world games, platform games. Now you are to make sentences based on the text. Listen to the examples.
In the 1970s and 80s, people played video games on game machines.
Now people play 2D games on their smartphone or other handheld device.
2D games don't use too much computer memory.
3D games often have extra downloadable content.
Modern versions of 2D consoles are sold as collector's items.
The smartphone is today's must-have gadget.
PlayStation and Xbox allow people to play open-world games.
Mario and Donkey Kong are platform games.
In exercise 6, you are to match the words in bold in the text to their meanings. Let's check. Need, require. Essential, a must. Protected, defended. Brave, courageous. Orders, commands. Have an effect on each other. Interact. Join, combine. More and more, increasingly. In exercise 7, we shall remember our grammar. Quantifiers. We use lots of in positive sentence with plural countable nouns and uncountable nouns. We omit of when lots are not followed by nouns.
The baker makes a lot of bread every day. She bakes a lot because she has lots of customers.
We use much and many in negations. Much goes before uncountable nouns and many goes before plural countable nouns.
She isn't going to make much juice, so she doesn't need many oranges. 2 are enough.
We use how much and how many in interrogative sentences. We use how much with uncountable nouns.
How much beef do you need?
Just ½ kilo. I think this is enough.
We use how much and how many in interrogative sentence. We use how many with countable nouns in the plural.
How many cheeseburgers did they order?
They ordered 3 cheeseburgers.
Too many can be used with plural countable nouns and has a negative meaning. It shows that there is more of something than is wanted or needed.
There are too many eggs in the basket. They might break.
Too much can be used with uncountable nouns and has a negative meaning. It shows that there is more of something than is wanted or needed.
He is making a mess because there is too much pasta in the bowl.
We use a few with plural countable nouns. A few means not many but enough. Few means hardly any, almost none, and is used after very for emphasis.
We have got a few eggs to make an omelette for the both of us, but very few mushrooms to put in it.
We use a little with uncountable nouns. A little means not much but enough. Little means hardly any, almost nothing, and is used after very for emphasis.
My favourite breakfast is waffles, topped with a little jam and very little cream.
We use aren't any, are no, with countable nouns.
There aren't any eggs in the egg box. There are no eggs in the egg box.
We use isn't any, is no, with uncountable nouns.
There isn't any milk in the carton. There is no milk in the carton.
We use any in the negative and interrogative. We use some in the interrogative with a first.
Would you like some ketchup for your chips?
No, I don't want any ketchup. Do you have any mustard instead?
Yes, of course.
Now, exercise 7. You are to choose the correct words. Let's check. Are there any secret levels in this game? There are very few platform games around these days. Mobile games can be a lot of fun. This game console doesn't use much electricity. Until recently, there weren't many VR games, and any hardware that existed was very expensive. In exercise 8, you are to read the sentence. Which word, phrase, is not possible in each sentence? Let's check. Every of these games can be played on your console. You see, we can say all of these games, several of these, each of these, but we cannot say every. The next, these games take up a number of the computer memory. We may use a number of only with plurals. In the third sentence, in the 1980s, there were any of 3D games. We can use any in negative and interrogative sentence. Much of my friends don't play computer games. We may use much only with uncountable nouns and friends are countable. Exercise 9 is your task. You are to make based on the text using the whole of, both, neither, either, none. Listen to the examples.
The whole of an early platform game takes place on one screen.
Both Donkey Kong and Mario Brothers were early platform games.
Neither Space Invaders nor Mario Brothers were 3D games.
You can now play either 2D or 3D versions of some games.
None of the early heroes in video games were 3D characters.